Prime Minister has announced what he referred to as a standing army of specialist police officers to tackle violent protests in UK towns and cities. He's been talking this lunchtime.
I had a COBRA meeting this morning, which was an opportunity that I took to thank the police for their work over the last few days, to express my support for the police officers who have been injured and the communities impacted by this mindless thuggery. There are a number of actions that came out of the meeting. The first is we will have a standing army of specialist officers, public duty officers, so that we'll have enough officers to deal with this where we need them. We'll ramp up criminal justice. There have already been hundreds of arrests. Some have appeared in court this morning. I've asked for early consideration of the earliest naming and identification of those involved in the process who will feel the full force of the law. And thirdly, I've been absolutely clear that the criminal law applies online as well as offline, and I'm assured that that's the approach that is being taken. Whatever the apparent motivation, this is not protest, it is pure violence, and we will not tolerate attacks on mosques or our Muslim communities. So the full force of the law will be visited on all those who are identified as having taken part in these activities.
Well, those are the words of the Prime Minister, and several MPs are calling for Parliament to be recalled, including Nigel Farage, who claimed the UK has two-tier policing when it comes to so-called protests. The former Home Secretary, Priti Patel, spoke to Times Radio this morning, and she said she didn't agree with those claims.
Well, that was Priti Patel. She's running for the Tory leadership, of course. Let's get the latest then with the Times radio political correspondent, Alicia Fitzgerald. Hello, Alicia.
Hi, Jane.
The two-tier policing thing then that Priti Patel was just discussing there, what does the Prime Minister say about it, if anything?
So pretty soon after the COBRA meeting, the Prime Minister gave a short briefing to political journalists where he said that he absolutely does not accept the claim that there is two-tier policing. He says that the police will always carry out their job without fear or favour, and he totally rejects that characterisation. So he has made it very clear that that is something that is not on his radar. It is, though, on lots of people towards the right's radar, including Nigel Farage, who has said that that should be the main issue that Keir Starmer addresses. But we can see there that also Priti Patel distancing herself from those comments as well.
OK, and this is basically, I mean, just in case anybody isn't clear what we mean by two-tier policing, it's the suggestion that effectively white working class people get a tougher deal than people who might turn up for a Black Lives Matter protest or indeed a pro-Palestinian march.
Absolutely, and that's something that lots of people who believe this have been citing. They've been citing the pro-Palestine marches and Black Lives Matter, and they have said that those on those marches, when on occasion they have turned violent, they have not suffered the full force of the law. They've said that the police have been very gentle and avoidant in that type of violence, but that in this situation and these riots in particular, that's not what's happening with the police. So that's a claim there alluding to the fact that the police potentially have some kind of favouritism over the two.
Let's talk about the hundreds of people actually arrested over the weekend. And if people go to the Times website now, there are names already being made public, aren't there, of people who've appeared in magistrates' courts up and down the land, frankly. But where are they all going if they've all been remanded in custody? I thought the whole system was absolutely jammed.
Well, this is it. And this was a big concern both for government and for the public when these riots broke out. With all of these arrests happening, it's such a quick succession as well. What is going to happen? We know that prison places are really sparse at the moment. So that was a big question. And actually, the Prime Minister's spokesperson said that during the COBRA meeting this morning, this was part of the discussion, and the Justice Secretary was actually confident that there were enough prison spaces for all of the people who've been arrested or who will be charged to actually go to prison if necessary. However, we're not exactly certain on that because as of the 12th of July, there were 1,451 prison places left in the whole of the UK. Obviously, we're now, a couple of weeks after that. Chances are that might mean a few less spaces. And the Justice Secretary has said this is because of Labour's policy on prisons, releasing some criminals a little bit earlier than their original release date. However, that policy doesn't begin until the 1st of September. So we've got to do a little bit of digging there to work out realistically exactly how many prison spaces there will be over the next few months and whether that will actually align with the amount of arrests that are happening. Because if all of these arrests are happening just from these riots, we've got to remember other crimes are still happening in the UK as well that will require prison spaces. So it's definitely a tight squeeze, if I can put it like that.
More than a tight squeeze, I think. Okay, a slightly mysterious issue, that one, and I'm sure there will be more to come on exactly what is happening and where these people are going. So Elon Musk, you can normally rely on him to say something idiotic, and he has done.
Yeah, well, Elon Musk has actually said on his social media platform X that civil war is inevitable in the UK. And he's also said that the reason for these riots is because of a lack of integration between different communities from different countries in the across the UK. And he said that that meant that these riots are inevitable. Keir Starmer has condemned Elon Musk over this claim, and he has said there is no justification for comments like that. We're talking about a minority of thugs that do not speak for Britain. So obviously Keir Starmer very keen to distance himself from these claims from Elon Musk, but we have to remember that Elon Musk now does own a huge social media platform that's partially been cited for some of the blame for actually inciting some of this violence. Lots of people are able to kind of share locations about the protests on there, and it seems slightly as if it's grown and grown on this social media platform.
Okay, yeah, it's such a gloomy picture, actually. There are some cheerful things going on in the world, not least the people who have turned up in their droves to help clear up the morning after these events. We should always make note of them, but take note, rather. So the idea that Parliament will be recalled, it doesn't seem very likely.
No, it seems very clear that this has been rejected by the government and they will not recall Parliament. Obviously, we've had calls from various MPs across the House from different parties to recall Parliament quickly. But I think the government line on this at the moment is very much that they are more efficient just getting things done without the hassle of having to draw all the MPs, and lots of them new MPs as well, back from their constituencies into Parliament to have a protracted debate about something. Keir Starmer wants to show that he's very clear on what his plan is, and he has taken decisive action today with that Cobra meeting, and he thinks that that is all that needs to happen at the moment.
Now, we did have a kind of honeymoon period when Labour first got into office. From memory, it lasted, was it about 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks? I mean, they've really come up against reality now, haven't they?
I mean, absolutely.
It's just incredible how much has happened on their watch already. What are the opposition saying? Is there basically still, at least on the issue of the rioting, something of a united front?
I mean, I think generally, yes. I think the general feeling in Parliament is that MPs are trying not to make this two-party political just because of how serious it is. Everyone is aware of just how severe the situation is, and that you kind of need some level of unity in Parliament in order for action to actually go ahead. Of course, we're hearing calls from lots of the Conservatives to reconvene Parliament. We're hearing criticism from people like James Cleverly saying that Starmer took too long to react, saying that the Cobra meeting wasn't called soon enough. But at the end of the day, I think the general consensus is that this is a huge problem and it's something that needs to be dealt with very quickly, and party politics should be put aside for now.